Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Full Course Yellow. If you're joining us straight from Channel 31's edition of In Pit Lane, you're welcome. If you're joining us just out of the blue, out of midair, well then you're welcome once again as well. This is something we sort of got together, when the show wasn't on the air. We just sort of got together to have a bit of a chat every week, and we thought, well, everyone seems to be enjoying it, and we're enjoying it, so let's keep it on. It's sort of the unofficial after party of In Pit Lane. If you were watching the show tonight, you'll know that I've been loaded up with this virus that's been running around. As I said, this is not the COVID, the RSV it's called. So it's sounds like recreational sports vehicle or something. So I'm suffering from recreational sports vehicle at the moment. Let me tell you, it's not fun. But anyway, we're getting over it. And we're going to try and get through over the next 45 minutes or hour or so, and talk about all sorts of things, including, of course, the supercars at Sandown last weekend, and a brilliant performance by Shane Van Gisbergen. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on. And also, we'll be catching up with the S5000s, and also coming up this weekend, of course, MotoGP and Formula One both back in action again. So, and joining us once again, we've got all of the crew. We got Pete, Doc, Chris, all hanging around. So, g'day guys, how are you all?
Good
Not bad.
evening, Brett. Evening, gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. Welcome aboard, especially as you said, the newbies that are jumping on for the first time with the Fallout. It's one of those after parties, as you said, we have on in Pit Lane here, but it's more virtual than face to face. We'd love to have them at a pub.
Yeah, that would be very nice getting together at a pub. But as I found out, I mean, I went to a pub last Friday, and look what happened. So, yes, we spent so long in isolation that apparently all of our immune systems have actually have cried enough, and now we just have to be sort of within coughing distance of a 5-year-old, and suddenly we're laid up for 2 weeks. But
You'll just have to keep wearing your mask tomorrow when it's lifted.
yeah, I will. Well, the main thing is I'll have to be sitting at home, and unfortunately, we are going to be home because they announced today that Nyora Speedway, which we were going to cover live this Saturday night, the Nyora Speedway and a number of other Speedway meetings right across Victoria have already been cancelled. I think I've heard some criticism of people saying, "Oh, why did they jump so early?" It is inevitable that they are not going to be in a fit state to, even if it stops raining right now. There's been so much rain over the last couple of days. Just getting the track is probably going to be fine, but it's all of the pit areas and the public areas, the car parks, all those sorts of things aren't going to be ready in time. So they've been absolutely cursed. I mean, if you remember the first time we were going to go over there, it was the last time it was on the eve of the last lockdown, and suddenly this lockdown is about to be more restrictions lifted tomorrow, and it pours with rain for. But thankfully, we're not copping it as bad as people in New South Wales or people down in Tasmania as well. So, people, anybody watching from New South Wales or Tasmania, if you're affected by the floods and all that rain, nothing worse. This house here was flooded out about 12, 15 years ago, something like that. There is nothing worse. Just the smell. I mean, someone said it's much better to lose your house in a fire than it is in a flood. And I can sort of, I can sort of imagine that because it's not good at all. Matt, good day, Mark. How are you? So once again, thank you for your support. Really appreciate it. So thank you for that. Really does help. Mark sent us through another $20 donation before. And I mean, as I said, we're not doing this as a fundraiser, but we do appreciate it. We're still looking for sponsors, advertisers. If you know anybody at all who might be interested in sponsoring the show on Channel 31, the current situation is because of the last minute situation that we can do some very good deals at the moment, some really good affordable television advertising. So if you're looking for some primetime television advertising for any business in Melbourne, especially one that's connected with motorsport or high performance motoring, but pretty much anything at all, contact us here at In Pit Lane, and we'll try and put together an affordable package for you on the program. So, Richard, good day. Richard, how are you? Well, thanks for joining joining us once again. That's good. And also, John RB. Hi to John, and also our friend Russell Clark. And Nyora swamped. Yeah.
Well, I reckon it'd be worse than a desperate and dateless ball, wouldn't it? That's usually gumboots and mud.
Yeah, I mean that'd be all it'd be good for at the moment. So I'm very unfortunate. The problem was I was just keeping my fingers crossed that I was going to be well enough to get out, because even if I'm I'm still feeling very marginal. But the main thing is you don't want to spread it to anybody else. And obviously in a live streaming studio environment, we're all literally on top of each other. So it's that makes it a bit of a problem. So we're really disappointed. I mean, Stuart said was really looking forward. He had some. I mean, for the good news for Stuart is he could take a couple of paid gigs, but he was really he was hanging out for it. We really did want to get out there and.
Stuart's been trying to get Bolt out the gate for about 2 months. He can't have to. He'll take a lot. He'll pack up all the gear and probably run to the bloody toad racing up in the Northern Territory if it was going ahead right now. Good luck. Watch out for all those Anzac RSL clubs with their 2-up games, because you'll have Stuart running around trying to do 20 in a day. And I should have just poured myself a drink as well too. You're twisting your arm without even saying anything there, Brett. Stuart's going to join us tonight if he can get his upgrades done. I think on his Microsoft Windows, he's doing an upgrade at the present time, so he might be stuck off the screen. But he's got some new toys and some new gizmos and some new ideas and some new programs, and he just can't wait to break it out, can he, Brett?
Well, we've been doing, as I've said a couple of times, we've been doing this thing office hours, which incidentally, I mean, what we're doing is very much based on the concept of office hours. And office hours, we turn up once a week, and it's enough of a commitment. Office hours last night celebrated 1 year on air. They have done a program every single day for an entire year, including Christmas Day.
365 days.
365 days for the whole year. 2 hours for the normal show, up to 7 or 8 hours on a Saturday, and they've been doing it day after day after day. It is an amazing effort by Alex and the team there. So if you're into television and media production, check out Alex Lindsay's Office Hours. It's on his YouTube. Just do a search on YouTube for Alex Lindsay with an A, LASAY instead of SEY like name.
That's some serious brain power that's been going on for all those hours.
There is some serious brain power. Some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry are sort of regulars on that. The people who wrote and created Zoom, and the people, just an incredible lineup. But anyway, let's talk about the weekend. Sandown was on. Of course, I didn't get out. It was amazing. I went out briefly out the backyard, and I sort of went, "Hang on, is that Thunder?" And it's like, no, hang on. Oh, that's right. S5000s are racing. Went in and turned on the television, and that was. We'll talk about S5000s first of all, because so once again, Joey Mawson took out the John Bow Trophy. So I know John was very honoured to have that trophy named after him, and has a lot of time for Joey, and that's a really good result. That's sort of 2 major race wins in a row for Joey Mawson. So he'll be delighted about that. Caleb, the young New Zealand guy, they keep producing them. These kids from New Zealand, and he's another one who's there, and he did a great job. And James Golding returned to the winners list as well. So the racing was really good. Thomas Randall had a weekend that he would absolutely love to forget, including a mess up at the start of race 1, which now Motorsport Australia have had a look at, and are going to make some changes to make sure that doesn't happen again, because there was confusion about whether they were on a warm-up, whether they were going on a warm-up lap, whether it was the race start, what it was. But that messed up the, as Paul's saying, interesting start to one of one of the races. So I think there was confusion that some people thought the race had actually started, and in fact they were being sent out for a formation, basically a formation lap.
So it comes down to a communication problem then, possibly, and maybe a briefing could have been a little bit more explanatory before they started the weekend, or just a quick whip around with the information before each race and how it was going to proceed.
Yeah, I think that was the problem. The lights didn't go in the exact order that they were supposed to, and I think also part of it is because a lot of us have been because we've been away, and yourself, Doc. I mean, we've had a couple of things we've gone out just recently where we've taken the cameras out and we've set everything up and gone, hang on, how do we do this again?
You've just thrown us both under the bus, and you're right.
Yeah, I mean, you get out of the habit. The muscle memory goes away, and it's like, well, hang on a second.
Where did where we stored that little adapter somewhere? Now, where was it? It was some little wormhole from down the telephone booth in Get Smart or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, Paul saying the release published on Speedway threw certain people under the bus. Yeah, it did a bit. Well, I sort of didn't want to go too detail. That sort of thing tends to happen. But look, mistakes can get made, but obviously you don't want mistakes in a situation like that. But they've had a look at it. Thankfully, there were there was no serious damage. There was no injuries. That was the main thing. So they'll get that sorted out, and
no one was hurt.
That's it. So anyway, that's it. Anyway, yeah, Dave Stillwell. Dave, how are you, Dave Stillwell? He will be up at Winton on the weekend. The next round of the State Series, I believe, this weekend up at Winton, and he's up there with the Mustang, which his father Michael is driving. And if you watched tonight's edition of In Pit Lane, Michael's day in the Escort, Mick was talking about getting his start with Stillwell Racing and working on the Escort, which came from Alan Mann Racing originally, and tending the cars for Stillwell Racing and for Mike Stillwell. So so that was good. So thank you to Mick. Now there's going to be more stuff from Mick coming up. We had so much stuff, as you can imagine, that we haven't. So I've just got to go in there and basically put a whole bunch of other stuff together to give you that whole interview, and then we've got a whole segment where Doc and Mick wander around the workshop together, adult beverage in hand,
being absolute idiots like we're supposed to be. So we're true to form.
Yeah, just having a walk around the new workshop and having a look at a couple of the cars there, having a look at some of the memorabilia and stuff. So a few
bit of banter, bit of what's this, what's that, what are you doing here, why aren't you doing that? Bit of fun, and Mick really enjoyed it. I think he sort of let his hair down a little bit. He's got bit more hair than Brett have got, the curly hair, and still got his colour for his age. Boom, boom. Mick, I hope you're watching, because we sent you stuff. But yeah, it was good fun. Brett just let us, guys, just go around the workshop and have a free-for-all. And it's like, all right, let's talk. We packed a 6-pack aboard, just like you do for a road trip, and toured around the workshop and had a bit of fun. It was good. So we wish we had more time.
A 6-pack for a road trip. This was like a garage about sort of just about. But it was fun, and thanks to Mick for making us so welcome there, and his team out there at SVO there. So he is an absolute legend.
Tom was there too. He made us feel welcome as soon as we got there. He said, we said we need some power. He said you can run an extension lead anywhere you want. So it was great, and he was on the beers and watching in the background. Actually, they were following us around the workshop at different times, just watch how we did a bit of TV and had a bit of a laugh, and stayed professionally quiet for us. But yeah, running around the workshop with Mick, it was completely freelance, off the cuff, nothing at all. We didn't plan it, and it was actually, in fact, Brett's idea. He said, I'll do a formal interview. Doc, you can run around and make idiots of yourself. So we did, Mick and I.
Yeah, it was good. It was good fun. It was great. We want to do more of that. In fact, I can let you know that coming up, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're going to catch up with another legend of Australian motorsport. Won't give you the name right now, but a man who, just as Mick has been associated with, so many legends of the sport over the past 50 years or more. We've got another legend of the sport coming up, another car preparer and team manager who's coming up very, very soon on the program.
Is that the one that used to herd sheep?
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got that coming up in a few weeks time. Just basically after Christmas, after Easter. It feels like Christmas. It feels like 2022 already. Paul pointing out that Mick had an auction, and Mick talks more about that auction and some of the stuff that was on offer with Doc in that situation. So I'm going to have that up hopefully within the next 24 hours. Dave's got some more information. Mick built a modular 3 for the Mustang. Okay. Yes, makes about double or triple what the Escort made in the day. But yes, I mean that's what we were talking about about the Escort and the fact that it was, and if you saw the program, you'll remember that Mick was talking about the fact that he was basically we won't say perhaps out strategized for the Australian Touring Car Championship by one Mr. Bob Jane, who brought a guy called Dick Johnson down from Queensland, actually paid him money to come down from Queensland in his Tirana. Yes, Dick, for our younger viewers, Dick originally raced in a Holden, in a Tirana, and before that an EH. And Dick came down and took points away from Mike, and as a result, Mike missed out by 1 or 2 points from the Australian Touring Car Championship, and which I think was Bob won.
I think there's a lot of stories that the viewers and listeners and everyone was saying down the bottom. Looks like on the graphics, like Dave said, one, and I'm sure everyone's got a story with Mick, and we just didn't. I mean, we were there till probably mid to late evening, and we had to do pack up as well too. We probably could have spent a whole day there and still not covered every single subject, I think, Brett. So it's a testament to Mick in his how much he's given himself in blood, sweat, and tears, plus his character that he's given to the motorsport industry for many decades, and he still wants to keep doing it as strong as he can be for as long as he can. So yeah, all the best, and we thank Mick wholeheartedly for opening it with open arms to his workshop and getting to play with his toys and hanging out and share some stories. And it's nowhere near enough, but at least it gives you a bit of something on the end of your taste buds that what he actually does.
Yeah, that was great. Guy Stewart is joining us.
Good evening, Stuart.
He's got the software installed and up to date, and
he's frozen, I think,
with probably a huge delay.
A very huge delay.
Spectacular delay.
I think you're on that new cartoon show. I think it's a Disney movie. You're frozen.
Your vision is frozen. Yeah, audio's coming through, but the vision is frozen.
Yes, it wouldn't be surprising. I've had to rescue the Windows 7 machine, and I'm hearing it about 10-15 seconds after you do.
The remarkable thing is, the vision is frozen, but the audio is magnificent.
Oh, absolutely. Just with your video shot, you might want to use that full time because it's not a bad look. Actually, you look like you're eyeing something off over there and about to give him a spray. So you can hold that note if you want. Yeah, thanks, Mad Cow. Good on you, buddy. Down by 14 points. Yeah, you might watch me just glancing left and right like a snagglepuss. Exit stage left. Just to see.
Anyway, let's get back to Sandown. Of course, I suppose the main event was the Shane Van Gisbergen show, and wow, what a drive in that first race. Broken collarbone, and subsequently announced that he also has broken ribs. Came from what it was P17?
17th, yep.
To come through, and in a category where we haven't seen an awful lot of passing, to see that happen was fantastic. It just shows you how incredibly talented he is.
Oh, someone opened the door and he ran down it, didn't he? In that end of the first race, geez, he just what one lap to go, and someone said, "Hey, look, there's a spot." And he just went, "I'm going through."
So yeah, so it was a great performance, and also in the third race, Brody Kostecki into third was a really good bit of driving as well. Although there has been some controversy regarding the tyres, and which Dunlop has denied. Dunlop put out a statement saying the tyres were all equal; they were all the same tyres. But some people are saying that. Some people were saying that they thought that that some tyres in the batch were a lot better than others. A few of the guys said that they really couldn't get any traction at all, whereas others like Brody and all that actually were. Now that could come down to both talent and also car setup as well. So credit where credit's due. Well done to Brody. I'm a bit of a rap for him. I mean, I said to that after Bathurst. I think he did a great job at Mount Panorama the last year for the 1000. And I think I think he's got talent. Pete, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he does. Like, he didn't at Bathurst. He didn't touch Jamie Whincup. He just simply forced him into an error. And it was all very sportsmanlike. So I think he's got talent.
Yeah, Paul Stewart looks like he's eyeing off a plate of donuts. If there's a plate of donuts there, Stewart isn't eyeing them off; he's eating them right as we speak.
Stewart looks like one of those digital photo albums that people have in their kitchens. That's flipped between different shots because it'll hold, then it'll after a few seconds it'll change to another one and just blend in as well beautifully and so forth. Anyway, so maybe a full reset, Stewart.
Oh, he came back long enough to give us a thumbs up. But anyway, but Pete, apart from that, what did you think of the racing on the weekend?
I thought that the first race was the best race. I don't really like the short races anyway, a great deal. I watch them, but I don't really like them. But the last two races, yes, it was good that Shane Van Gisbergen won them, swept the weekend, but considering his circumstances, but it was, the last two races were a bit ho-hum.
I think the thing is, I mean, he's obviously so keen as well. I mean, he was not going to make any excuses. I mean, in the end, he didn't have to make any excuses, but not only, he got there and raced despite the fact that obviously, I mean, okay, they strap you in very tightly, and he wouldn't be sort of moving around a lot, but there's no way you can sort of totally limit the pain that he would have been going through from that. But I saw earlier in the football, I think it was Jamie Elliott went down with a badly twisted ankle or something, and I thought, if it was Shane Van Gisbergen, I think that was coming from Stewart. Yep.
It was very loud through my earphones, that one.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so that was so Stewart will check on that, but some bad feedback coming through on there. As Dave's pointing out, people, we forget that Brody actually did some time in the United States, and perhaps that might be something that he might be looking at in the future as well, because I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of money there, and he's still very, very young. So if he wants to, get a couple of years under his belt and raise his profile here, and then perhaps jump back over to the States and.
Well, you can see the relationship with stock car racing, because stock car racing eventuates, if you want to make it to the big time, becomes NASCAR, and a lot of Aussies start out over here in supercars, and their goal, obviously, or some of them, is. They're a heavy car. They're very similar features to what we've got over here, and we've had 3 or 4 guys have gone over, and Scott McLaughlin even thought about contemplate at one stage when IndyCar wasn't a full blown option, but we've had Ambrose. Ambrose graduated from here to supercars, so you can see the similarities and what he'd learnt from the stock car racing over there to bring him back over here and apply it to the supercars.
Yeah, so he did a great job. So they've got a bit of a gap now, and a lot of the guys, including Shane Van Gisbergen, will of course be running up at Bathurst over the Easter. I mean, I was very keen to go up for the 6 hour, and I'm not I'm pretty sure now that I'm not going to make it up there because of the health reasons and all of, and basically financials and all the rest of it, and just the time factor. Because if I drive up, I'm just not going to have time to drive up and drive back again and still get the show finished for that week. So unfortunately, probably won't get up there. But the 6 hour is looking really, really good, I think. Sort of. Dave pointing out sprinklers on the track permanently. Bernie Eccleston had the right idea. Yeah, I mean, we've always said that. I mean, the secret, the in-pit lane formula for quality racing: too much power and not enough grip. And I think that's like the encouraging thing is the Gen 3 supercar regulations. They seem to be following that because they're talking about trying to drag out up to 67% of the downforce out of, which is a huge figure. So whether they actually manage to do that or not, I don't know. But it's I think that it'd be a good start if they do. Certainly, the artist's impressions of the cars so far, the cars are going to look a lot better as well. So really looking forward to seeing the Gen 3 cars in action. Hopefully, it'll be better racing and the cars will look better.
Yeah, there's some young emerging talent coming through the ranks in supercars. It's probably been the best season, still playing ball with the old cars, and you've only got the Mustangs and on the old ZB Commodores, but there's been that injection. There's been a few old stalwarts have jumped teams this year. Chaz has jumped across recently as well too. You've got a couple, but you've got 3 or 4 guys in like this Jack Smith, and none of them have made. Obviously, Kostecki had a podium on the weekend, but none of them have made a huge impression yet. But look, it's just like any sport. You've got to find your feet and get used to things and adapt to it. And as it's been widely renowned, that you've got to have a good relationship with your engineer as well too. And some of them are saying that having that great relationship between, talking on while you're driving along, plus the setup of the engineer and giving that feedback and working it all out. So it takes a while to gel. Some guys are at the new team, like Anton he's at Shell. It's going to take a little bit for him to settle in and get used to the whole rigmarole. And also there's time frames, So everyone's got things. But, I think it looks a little bit more exciting in supercars this year than the same old procession we've had in the last couple of years. And obviously they're trying to get it to peak a little bit more in future. So what's Dave's what's it like? Add for the smarter milk. I just want to race cars that look like real cars.
I think so. That's I think that'll be. I think a lot of people will be happy. Will be happy with that. Coming up this weekend, of course, big weekend of motorsport on 2 and 4 wheels. Let's go to Formula One first of all, and we saw in the very short testing session that Red Bull are looking very, very competitive, and everyone's saying, Mercedes may have problems. But as I said last week, I'll believe that when I see it. I'm still expecting that when we get to this time next week, we'll still be saying that Lewis Hamilton won the race. But we're obviously going to see Dan Ricciardo for the first time in the McLaren, and the debut of young Mick Schumacher. And Pete, as our resident Formula One tragic, what are you looking forward to?
I think there'll be lots of teams will have improvement, but I think Mercedes have been foxing in testing, so I think yes, it will be a Mercedes win. But I think Williams, I'm expecting to be up where Force India, now Aston Martin, was last year, because they've increased their involvement with Mercedes in terms of components. So, and McLaren, I'm expecting to be a bit more improved. I'm expecting a bit of spice between Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo. I don't expect it to be quite as chummy as it has been.
And of course, we're getting back the greatest Formula One driver in the world, according to him, Fernando Alonso. I mean, that's putting some pressure on yourself, isn't it? To basically get up there and say, I'm better than all of these guys.
Oh, he's got big shoulders. He's got big shoulders while Brett's coughing away there. Look, but to give the guy a little bit of credit where it's due, there's been some more outlandish statements from some of the other people that are drivers in Formula One. They've made him. At least he does have the runs on the board. He is a world champion. He's he is well renowned. He's mates with Mark Webber, and Mark Webber's not too bad a bloke. So, if they're good friends, and Mark says he's pretty down to earth for a world-renowned driver. So, he hasn't been featured in the news as much as he usually does either. So he probably needed a bit of publicity. If he comes out with a couple of outlandish statements, he's still probably got, not enough runs on the board compared to some of the other idiots that make some stupid carry-on statements. I mean, I saw one during the week from Valtteri Bottas, which, he doesn't feature significantly in the media too much. And I'm sure he does just as many interviews and just as much PR and community work as all the other guys. But what he probably doesn't do is probably give much away when he does it. He's probably just a straightforward, yes, I race really hard. Yes, I'm good at it. I'm Formula One. So it might not to knock Valtteri, but he's probably a little bit boring. And if he's not coming out with controversial statements, it's not going to feature in the news much. But he did come out in the last week and says, I have contemplated retirement because I'm up against Lewis all the time, and I've got basically the same car, and he keeps on beating me all the time. So, there's a grab. Someone's come out with what Valtteri said. Quick, that's controversial. So it was probably just a throwaway comment. He's probably really not going to retire. Thought about it seriously. It was just something that's just popped in his head and jumped out again.
I think he was also talking about, I think it was in Russia, I'm not sure, they put team orders on him, and that's when he said, I contemplated retirement because they put team orders on him. I think he was leading, and they said, you've got to make way for Lewis.
Yeah, well, that's expected. However, doesn't make it right.
Yeah, it's going to be, as Dave's saying, the new aero regulations seem to have affected the low-rate cars more than the cars like the Red Bull and the Renault. Renault will be interesting to see the Alpine, see how they do go with Alonso out there and racing it. The Renault seem to be really doubling down on their whole motorsport effort. I mean, because they've announced, of course, they're going to race at Le Mans with a grandfathered LMP one car from last year, the old Rebellion, but they're going to race that, and I'm expecting that at Le Mans, hoping that it will in fact happen this year. That I'm pretty certain that they're going to announce that they'll jump in alongside Toyota and Ferrari and Porsche and all the rest of them in having a car.
Well, while we're getting amused by Stuart's doing his most famous Max Headroom glitching on the screen, which is it's quite amusing there. I remember Max Headroom used to glitch when he had his Coca-Cola. However, Dave's point was, well, arguably one of the best engineers of all time, not just in automation, but in Formula One. To quote Red Bull down the bottom there, they do have Adrian Newey. Adrian Newey is very fast to react and develop, aero and wings and stuff. He was ahead of his own time at one stage. I don't think he even believed how quick those Red Bulls were probably 15 years ago and how he was that far ahead of the rest of them. So it is going to be. It'll be good to see. I think as Brett just said, Pete will be watching with extremely attentively the tragic he is, and I'll probably catch up with the replay. I've got some stuff on over the weekend, but however, actually, there was another grab I saw during the week as well though too. I'll throw this out to the crowd, all the viewers and listeners out there as well as you guys, if you want to comment straight away. Porsche Formula One.
Yeah, they constantly we constantly hear that.
Yeah,
I personally doubt it. I can't see what they've got to gain in Formula. They've made the commitment that they're coming back to race at Le Mans, and not in a hypercar, but interestingly enough, in an IMSA prototype, a Daytona prototype. So that's sort of the budget way of doing it. So I really can't see them. The engine they're going to use, I believe, for both, and of course Audi are coming back as well, but apparently both Audi and Porsche, according to all the rumours, are actually going to use the Audi engine that was in the DTM car, so the 2-litre turbocharged engine out of the DTM car, because they've got a few of them lying around now, because the DTM, that category's fallen over and collapsed. So, and rumours that you're going to have Acura sort of getting involved as well, and possibly running the engine out of the running the engine that they've got at the moment, or the engine out of their Super GT car, which is again another turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with about 600 horsepower. As Dave's saying, Renault Alpine won't miss a chance to fight Peugeot, who are also coming back, especially when you consider that 2023 is the 100th anniversary of the running of the Le Mans 24-hour race. So that meeting will be absolutely mega. So yeah, I'd be really surprised that they don't come back. And as this, like a French driver in a French car winning the ultimate, the ACO will be salivating. So that's
just going back to comments of what Dave said about Haas going into the 2022 car, Energy's going into it. Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are more aficionado with the Formula One than me. Isn't it 2023 when the new regulations are coming through? I think it is. So I can imagine Haas will probably be focusing more on the 12 months in the track, but they're going to have to redevelop it again down the track, wouldn't they, after that, another year later?
I think there's regulations coming in next year, but then there's more regulations coming in 2026.
No, 20. Okay, yep.
Yeah, so they're going to have some time to play around with that. Speaking of French drivers winning in sports cars over the weekend, the Sebring 12-hour was on, and that was a hell of a race, and a win to Sebastian Bourdais and a couple of other French drivers there. So in the Cadillac, and we haven't heard yet what General Motors are going to do, because the Corvette the Corvette program, which is very important to them in America, they've already said they're not going to build a GT3 car. They're going to IMSA for the North American Sports Car Championship are not going to run the GTE or GTLM category anymore, which Corvette race in at the moment. They're going to move over to a pro version of GT3 as we run at the Bathurst 12-hour and around the world, which is sort of the dominant GT category around the world. Chevrolet have officially said that they are not going to build a GT3 car and don't want to build a GT3 car, but they do want to keep racing both at Le Mans and in the North American Sports Car Championship. So the only thing that I can think of there is that they're going to put their hand up, and we might see sort of Cadillac out, and we'll see some sort of Corvette hypercar stroke Daytona prototype make a run in the North American Sports Car Championship and at Le Mans in 2023. So yeah, sports car racing at the moment is looking very, very healthy at the moment. Let's move on quickly to MotoGP, Doc. I was interesting. I heard a preview on Midweek Motorsport or just afterwards on this year's MotoGP series, and they were sort of they pretty much wrote off in terms of a championship choice. They almost wrote off our own Jack Miller as how do you think Jack's going to go? Because he's done very well in pre-season testing.
He has, Brett. Thanks for that. So the first two races are at Qatar coming up, as you said. We're getting a sport for choice this weekend if we want some international motorsport. The big news, just before I head on to Jack, though, I'll get it out of the way. If you didn't already hear what's going on the two-wheel around the world, is Marc Marquez is not racing in the first two races. So you would think that he's going to be back this year. I mean, they were all going from race to race last year. Is Marquez? He's not racing. Oh, okay, here's our opportunity. It turned out to be the whole season. So it was just a free-for-all. And Suzuki's, well, they just had some couple of brand new riders, adapted to the bike really well. and the Suzukis were an all-round good bike on most circuits. And the key to it, a lot of the time, funny enough, in MotoGP, unlike a car, stay on the back of the bike, especially if you're new to the bike and especially if you're new to the team, because if you probably go through the statistics, if you've got a couple of years of experience under your belt, you probably stay on the bike, you don't bin it as much. You need to stay on the back of the bike, and that's what the guys in Suzuki did better than a lot of the others as well too, other than being just a good all-round bike. So you'd think that it's been musical chairs in MotoGP this year. There's been, changing teams. Valentino's now going across to a factory spec, and for the satellite team, he's not racing for the pure Yamaha team anymore. Is it his first step of saying goodbye to the category, or is his farewell dance? So the bike will be good enough to make top 3, but it's whether he still has the passion, he has the heart still to go there. Jack Miller, yeah, I think what you were saying, Brett, to answer your question, the speculation's there. It's always this time of year. What will the bikes do? The expectations of it. Obviously, like Formula One, there's been a lot of testing going on and ducks and drakes and trying out new things. Not necessarily everything they try out from all the teams makes it onto the track, because they might have a little bit more time left in their belt for some of the teams if they take some of the gear off. Sometimes they're actually using at different stages factory spec stuff from 2020 or 2019 because they haven't been able to develop and get that testing time. So, yeah, Jack's quick enough to be top 3. If it's wet, or if it's Bernie Ecclestone raining, he could win the race. You can probably put him in the top 2. He's the best one, probably if not the best wet rider out there. However, Ducati have got 2 things on this side. One, as you said, they've been developing that downforce. We spoke about it on Full Course Yellow a couple of weeks ago, and the extra wings. But 2, they've seemed to have the advantage on all the other bikes with the whole shot device. So that is off the start line from the start. They've managed to be able to flick a switch where it's basically like a handbrake in a car. They put the handbrake on at start, rev up the engine, drop the clutch at high things, and it bolts out the door. And what it does, it actually sags down the back of the bike, which aerodynamically is better and gets them like a rocket off the line. So there's a lot of controversy coming from the other teams saying, is it legal? Is it real? Because towards the end of last season, they were just absolutely trashing everyone off the line. Doesn't matter where they were. So good luck to Jack. Stay on the back of the bike. Use those the top end speed the Ducatis have got on some of the others. Hopefully they've got the cornering right. And yeah, if he can just ride the pants off it but keep on it, he should have a productive season, because Ducati aren't expecting him to win maybe the championship, but they'd be hopefully after a couple of years and being at the satellite team with Pramac and giving him all the good bits from time to time, they want him to be top 3 now, being on a factory bike.
The interesting thing was, you mentioned Marquez there. Certainly, the midweek motorsport guys they were sort of saying, look, if Marquez only misses 1 or 2 rounds of the championship and then comes back, he will end up walking away with the championship. He's that much better than everybody else. And I'm not convinced after such a long layoff that it's going to be as simple as that. Do you think he's going to just come back in and just ride off into the distance again? Or, might he, after all of the injury and on the long layoff, do you think it might take him quite a bit of time to come back to form? And
I like that
somebody
I like that loaded question, Brett, because as you said, it doesn't matter if you've had such a long layoff. He can do all the practice he wants, and he can only do limited time on those bikes because he's limited on what he can do on the real McCoy bike from testing. There's regulations. Otherwise, it'd be every supercar, every go-kart, and every world superbike would be going out every weekend and just hour after hour after hour, and not necessarily putting the specific rider on it. They'll put other people on it to get to develop. Otherwise, so fitness is going to be the key for him as well, though. Too, if he is still ginger from that injury and it has been healing and hasn't developed, to be not racing in the first 2 races, there still must be a risk there. So he will come back after 2 races, I think, and he still might struggle in the first race or 2 to find his feet. if a fully fit, as you said, Marc Marquez will trounce the rest, as long as the bike's good enough, or at least on par. Because I think we've found out over the years, if you're an avid follower like in motorsport with MotoGP, every bike has its different characteristics. I mean, Casey Stoner had a Ducati years ago. He was the only one who could ride it probably up besides Bayliss, who come in for a wild card entry at the end of the year one year, and absolutely wiped the floor of after riding superbikes all year. Jumped on a MotoGP bike for a cameo because someone was injured, and then won a MotoGP race without even racing it the whole year in it. So it can be done, but you've got to be able to be in sync on song with your bike. It's a little bit more of a cohesion in on a bike than what it is a thing. You've got to feel it. So as I said, Suzuki's are a good all-round bike, very good at their cornering, handle well, and more I suppose smoother with their power. Honda's slightly different again. Ducati's like a pig to ride sometimes. You got to pull its ears and muscle it around. It's just, and each rider has their own characteristics, and it's how well they adapt to the bike. So, but certainly, Brett, you're right. Marc Marquez will have definitely some fitness levels to gain. Otherwise, he would have been there at the start of the year. He would have been there for the first race. You've dropped sound, Brett.
There we go.
That's back.
Yeah, let's wrap it up at about this time by just going around the group and ask you for both the Formula One World Champion and the MotoGP World Champion. Pete, let's start with you.
I think it'll be Lewis Hamilton again. I think World Champion. Yep.
And MotoGP?
Probably. I don't know enough about it, so.
Okay, so Lewis Hamilton there. Chris, what about you?
I think Lewis Hamilton is a good pick, and it'll be someone who rides a motorcycle for the MotoGP.
I like your thinking. Stuart?
I'm going to go with Daniel Ricciardo because got a barrack for the local boy. But as for the bikes, whoever stays on the seat the most.
Yeah, which is why I'm quite keen on Jack. Actually, I mean, I know he's stepped off quite a few times, but I think he's been around a lot. But Doc, your picks?
I'm going to go a couple of dark horses. They've got form, but I think for MotoGP, it'd be a miss of me if I didn't mention it first. I'm going to go a slightly long shot. I'm not a betting man. I don't do Mike Icebergs, Ladbrokes. I think I've been saturated on TV the last few weeks. Alias Mark Wahlberg. Maverick Vinales. I think he's got the right strengths. If Yamaha have got the right bike for him, he can do it because he's starting to get the consistency in it. If it is, and I'd like him to lighten up a little bit more, have a little bit more of a sense of humour, because I can see he has those characteristics. He just doesn't develop a little bit more. That's when he's not in the saddle. I'm going for Mad Max in the Formula One.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to throw out there, and I'm going to back for similar reasons that Stuart's backing Dan in Formula One. I'm going to back Jack Miller for that. I'm no expert on MotoGP. I watch it regularly, but yeah, I think I would just like to see Jack.
He's got a good partner in Bagnaia. So Bagnaia is a bit of a rookie. So he's got someone who's young and enthusiastic that'll probably work well together rather than oppose each other, like say Lorenzo / Rossi, where they just end up hating each other's guts more than if you could before you even started. But your Formula One pick, Brett. Come on.
Look, I don't think it's a contest. Lewis will. I still think that Mercedes will, in spite of all of the changes to the rules and what we saw in testing. I still think that both the combination of Lewis and Mercedes are in a class of their own. But I think it will be closer. I think Max will win a lot more, and I'd really love to. I'd obviously love to see Dan get up and win something. And it'd be good to see Mick Schumacher pick up, do well for the year too. I mean, I think that would be a huge boost to Formula One. And from everything I hear about the guy, the people who know him, people like Joey Mawson, all that who have been his teammate, and all that, everybody says he's just a really nice guy and deserves a lot of support. So okay, so that's I think that's all the time we have now. We're all sort of heading off. Thanks for joining us. Now next week on In Pit Lane at 8:30 on Channel 31, it will be our show from the Phillip Island Historic Classic. So make sure you're watching that next week on the program. I can't tell you exactly what's going to be on it because I haven't started editing it yet, but it'll be good. Trust me. Hopefully I'm feeling good at that time too. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to everybody for taking part on the panel. But until we see you again next week here on Full Course Yellow, thanks for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe to the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. There'll be more stuff, extended interviews, and also that stuff with Doc and that special feature with Doc and Mick Webb coming up a little bit later on in the weekend. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. But for now, from all of us, it's bye for now.